Pasha Pyro, YNet 7. Thank you for tuning. The replay. Pasha Pyro, YNet 7. Thank you for tuning. Okay. Hold on, let me share this live real quick. All right, so appreciate your patience. Let's get started. So what we're going to break down today, or what I'm going to present today, is this thought, right? And actually, do it like this. So we're going to call it thought. How the man becomes the name, right? Which doesn't all show up there. So let me put it like this. And appreciate your patience. But I want to make sure. Spiraled Hair Amplifies. There, that might work. You get the picture. So we're talking about thought, right? And from that came a couple things like how the man, quote, how the man becomes the name. Basically it says the name doesn't become the man becomes the name. So I want to start off with this passage from a book, and we'll go into it from there. So it says man's knowledge is greatly limited. Let me see how I can do this here. Okay. So it says man's knowledge is greatly limited. He lives and moves in a 5 sense world. Beyond the range of his 5 senses lies the vast unknowable, right? There's no such thing as an original thought. No man has produced an original thought, for man cannot produce an original thought. In fact, man cannot produce thought at all. Man does not originate his ideas or thoughts. The first thought expressed by him came from without. It came not from himself. It was not his own making. It was suggested to him by something that had either an actual or potential existence. It was received by him as an impression upon his brain cells. The impressions were translated into what we call thought. They were transformed by the brain to correspond to that from which the impression was received. And give me a second here. So that passage was very powerful, especially if you've been with YNet 7 for a while, because we've talked about a lot of things that all make sense with that. Down to and when it says man, just know to me, I'm interpreting that, I'm translating that energy received as all of humanity, right? So if we're looking at ourselves as transducers, right? Hold on a second. If we're looking at ourselves as transducers, as we've mentioned, and whatever we focus on, thought becomes things, right? So With that being the case, with that being the case, right? All right, because I'm trying to. All right, so I can see any comments or anything. Um, if we're looking at ourselves as transducers, this is what we've talked about in the past, how easily it is for, if you're not in control of yourself, your own emotions, for ones to be bestowed upon you and for you to manifest that reality instead of what you want to be your own, whether you know it or not. Transducer. So when you look at the verbiage of that, impressed upon the brain cells to formulate thought and create whatever response happens, right? You know, when you send a signal, it's energy pulses. Boop, 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 boop. Like, think about Norse codes, like, you know what I mean? Like, those are impressions at the other end that are translated into something, right? That energy pulses, boop, 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 and it's picked up, right? So that's what happens when you say, to me, when you look at it, it's really simple. When you say, oh, I feel their vibe, or, you know, this person's energy and whatever, it's because we're transducers and everything is like little Wi-Fi devices on a bigger network. You see what I'm saying? So let's take a look at the word thought, so we can get a grasp a overview of this concept here. So thought, right, which was before 1200 and stems from the basically from the stem of a word that meant to conceive of in the mind. Consider, right? So when you get into conceive and consider, so here's consider. Consider means to look at closely, right? So you can't, the powerful thing that it said was that there was nothing new created under the sun, which you've heard that before, right? You've heard that before. I know you have. So if you apply the quote that the hardest part of having any wisdom is constantly remaining disciplined to the knowledge, then you can see that if there's nothing new under the sun, then none of the thoughts are original. Now, to make this make sense, is like, okay, go back to the last video or so we did, where we were talking about how, you know, where did the thought come from when we say, hey, right now you're in your world, you're doing whatever you were doing, and if we stop you for a moment and say, hey, think about the house you first lived in, your first house that you lived in. You actually can almost, those five senses activate, and you can almost like run through the house, smell the cooking, feel the sun out back, you know, whatever it was that you related to in that moment. You can actually go and become immersed in it in your mind. So where was that thought 5 minutes ago? Where did it exist? Where did those sensory stimulations exist 5 minutes ago? Because you weren't feeling that, seeing that, touching that, smelling that before 5 minutes ago. So I bring that up to say, consider, right? Consider meaning to look at closely. You can't look at something that doesn't exist. Let me know how you feel about that. You can't look at something that's not in front of you to see. However, it's clearly not in front of you right now. So where are you going? Actually, you haven't gone anywhere in this physical body, but there's a part of you that went somewhere to go see it. So where is that part? Who or what is that that's able to traverse time and space? And where did they go to see and feel and touch that so you can have this experience right now? You see, if you ask me, in my opinion, that's the part of you that is you. See, if your energy, right, and or connected to the source of infinite energy or source of infinity, then all exists, all time affects all time, all of the time. All right, so consider to look at closely, and originally meaning examine the stars, because I guess this is where you feel like prayer goes up to the heavens. Like you're in a conversation with something above you, greater than you, bigger than you, right? Now conceive. Conceive originally meant in the womb, or receive, right? Receive seed in the womb, become pregnant. So now that you see, the thought wasn't, you didn't create the thought, right? This is where the ego shatters. You know what I'm saying? And this is why, this is, anyway, so let's continue. So you didn't create the thought, like the book said. The thought's always been, the existence is actually going on somewhere else right now. That's what enables you to have the thought, because the part of you that is you that can traverse time and space in the universe and actually interact with the Most High, or actually be your higher self, etc., and all this terms and labels people give so that we can all be divided about who's right, is able to freely move through that time and space and go to the place where it actually already exists and see it, which is how you're able to think about it or have the thought, which is how you're able to conceive of it in the mind, which is how you're able to consider its existence. So once you go, the part that's you, that's actually you, not the vehicle that you're, not the contrivance that you're in control of, actually goes to the existence and sees for yourself. Look at it closely. It comes back and it installs it in you. It downloads inside of you. You receive on this manifestation, you receive the seed in the womb, which is your mind, and become pregnant with the idea. So think about your thoughts for a moment that you have on a daily basis. Think about your goals. Think about who told you can reach this. Think about who told you you'll never be that. You're pregnant with ideas that actually exist somewhere, whether you see it in front of you or not. When we talk about gaslighting, when we talk about control, this is why you need to have self-control, because you're definitely going to become pregnant with an idea. The question is it from you, whether you want to say your higher self, your most high, whatever, or has it been installed upon you? Have you been programmed to work for another? Now let's look at some words per the modern language of what thought means, right? Here goes some synonyms. So, whatever you give your attention to. Go check out the video we did a while back on YNet 7 about attention. Hope. How many times you've been talking to someone, they've been talking to you about what they hope for, or they hope. They send you a text talking about hope all is well. Does this give you a different sense of meaning when you get that text? You're saying hope all is well. Don't you know what I'm going through? Hey, look, if you think all is well, it shall be. If you feel like everything is messed up, then you'll keep going through messed up shit, right? Because you'll only attract situations to align with what your manifestation is, based off your logic, based off reflection. So you look at reflection, right? So reflection is respect, because it actually kind of symbolic of the word relate, and relate actually is what the definition of respect is for those that don't know. So to say someone has disrespected you means that they are just in disrelation or not relatable to what you're talking about. So if you have a thought that you've narrowed down in your mind, and that creates a logic for you, and maybe someone else calls it a religion, then you're going to feel disrespected unknowingly. If you know what the word means or not, you may easily feel disrespected by someone outside of your religion, you know? If your conditioning says that you can't eat a certain food, right? Then if someone offers you that food, you may feel like you can't relate, so there's a form of disrespect by definition. Now the thing is, what happens if that person, or if those people, that group, that mindset, that logic is placed in a circumstance, placed in a manifestation, being an environment where that freedom of, or not to say that freedom, that option, because see, that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the option. We're only able to process that reality, so to speak, because of the options we have to eat, right? So if you were put in a position where you had, that was the only option, what you claim that you shall never eat, are you going to starve to death per your religion, per your logic, per your hope, per your thinking, per your understanding? Or are you going to eat from that of which you said you shall never do? So when you start to look at this is why I always talk about infinity, because it's not true unless it aligns with infinity. See, let me clarify why I say that. Because you're gonna say, no, this absolutely exists. This is part of it, because it's part of infinity. But here's the thing that people don't understand about the word lie. You can lie by omission. So a lot of people don't understand, or I ain't gonna say they don't understand. Again, going back to the quote, man, like the hardest part of having any wisdom is just constantly remaining disciplined to the knowledge. When you're focused on the truth, just the truth, and you take it to, and you remain disciplined to the max level of your ability, and that you keep growing there, you'll find that you can't really entertain a lot of people for long, because the vibration, right? The conceivement, the thing that's being now is altering what's in your womb, because they don't realize the infinity of truth. So to fit in, you would become unpure, untrue. And then you got that choice. Like I said, do you die from starvation, or do you eat upon what is provided for you? So a lot of people may feel like they starving you out, of attention, or they starving you from growth and development, or being a part of this group. They starving you, but they don't realize you don't eat that. You see? So The hardest part of having any wisdom is constantly remaining disciplined to the knowledge. So the name doesn't become the man becomes the name. Because your thoughts never came from you, they came to you. Once you could see them, you could examine and look at them closely because you have become pregnant with the idea to be able to do so. So there's many other words on here. I circled a few of them. Look at this judging. You know what I'm saying? So now the person that doesn't eat this food is going to judge you because you do. Right? The vegan going to tell you something wrong with you because you eat meat. You know what I'm saying? They going to go to Earth Fair. Shout out to Earth Fair. Nothing wrong with them. Or they going to go to their local produce stand. Well, let's leave them out because if it's the local produce stand, they're probably selling just regular plants, right, that you produce. So let me go back to the grocery store because there's a point I'm trying to make. And they're going to show up with their chicken sandwich that's not chicken, right? And talk about, oh, this is vegan, right? When I thought the problem all along was that the food was processed. So, you know, they judging you because they haven't considered the infinity, right? And all they know is this, you know. And then knowing is important because once you know, like I said, you can look at it closely. And then think about meditation, right? When you go and you meditate, and you burning your eucalyptus crystals and got your crystals laid out on the floor and stuff, right? You're becoming pregnant. You're clearing out everything else to receive something, whatever it is. So what's the difference between meditation and half of witchcraft, right? You see what I'm saying? If you're focusing on that reality becoming, perceiving, rationalization, rationalizing, realizing, reasoning, scrutiny, seeing is believing, right? And then finally, the last one I circled was study. Because, you know, you ain't got a degree. You can't possibly, you're not educated and da-da-da-da, right? So you studied. So you've been limited. You've been programmed. Your field of view has been narrowed and you paid for it. Great job. You know what I'm saying? Like, not to say that doesn't provide you to be good at some things. It's just to say that, you know, there's a whole infinity out there that you're not considering, which is why towers fall down and bridges collapse because of engineering mishaps. They didn't consider the infinity of nothing until it became everything because there was a failure that they didn't account for. You see what I'm saying? Now, where does the spiraled hair come into play? I'm going to tell you because I want you to look at this video. It's 2 minutes and 29 seconds. It's actually from electrical and computer engineering at Michigan. So let's check this out. And I'm going to tell you how this translates into all of this stuff, right? From my perspective, let me be politically correct for those people that's going to be like, oh, you're trying to impose your thoughts on us. Man, I'm sharing this with the people who are ready for it, who got the prerequisites and is ready to go. You know, here we go.
Wireless power transmission has a long history and has a great potential for many commercial applications, including biomedical implants, charging of mobile devices, charging of drones, and also charging electric vehicles. Current wireless power transmission systems are very sensitive to distance and misalignment between the transmit and receive coils. And so... all
right, I gotta stop it here. Look, you know how I always say, you know what I mean, control your emotions, don't let them control you. Or I say, I'm emotionally unavailable, whatever. Listen to very sensitive, to position. Like when I the beautiful thing about etymology is, let me tell you what this says. Since position, the word position is actually the definition of attitude. Like if you go and look at the etymology of attitude, it actually means position. So your attitude is your position on things. So this is a great translation because it's saying that this system, prior to their upgrade, right, which means they went to somewhere else in their mind, saw it, identified it, studied it, mapped it, got logic from how it works, came down here and created something. I'm going to finish it up for you guys. Don't worry about it. But it said that prior to that, these coils, you know what I mean? What's it charging? Batteries. What's it charging? Phones. What's it charging? Everything that's duplicating the human technology, right? So it's you. Very sensitive to position. So it's very sensitive to attitude. Why? Because they haven't considered something beyond their little slither of thought that's been given to them by their higher self, by the most high for them, or by the person next door that's brainwashing them and they don't realize it. Maybe it's their politician. Maybe it's their teacher. Whatever. But they're very sensitive to position. So what happens is when if you're too close to them and you come up with something new, a new thought, they're going this is where you get they won't support you until strangers do, your friends won't, quote unquote. Because they've been so close to you all along, they can't see you having a thought beyond what y'all supposedly can see together right now. So until the strangers support you, they don't even give a shit, right? This is where when you're the right distance from the source, you see how it lit up. The energy transfer was bright. It lit up the bulb strong. Because it was just far enough to say, hey, you know what? I don't know enough about them to say that they don't know what they talking about. And then they got this title that I believe tells me that they do know what they talking about. And all these other people over here put likes under their page, so they must be the right one. So you know what? Let me tune in. Let me receive the energy. So the signal's bright. Then when they too far away, they already Bill Gates status or something, super wealthy, super rich. They done made it, they done done it. You're like, oh, we disconnected because they like it. They only made it because then you start to find out all these other reasons why you feel like because they're so far away now that you shouldn't connect with them, or they're evil, or they worship Satan. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get back to it. I'm gonna start it back a little bit so you can hear. But when you hear this technology stuff, think about all this is you.
Including biomedical implants, charging of mobile devices, charging of drones, and also charging electric vehicles. Current wireless power transmission systems are very sensitive to distance and misalignment between the transmit and receive coils. And so they must be optimized at a particular distance. And
that's because they're judging the other side is judging the distance for whatever reason instead of just accepting the value.
If the distance between the transmit and receive coil decreases or increases, and the orientation between them changes, the transmission efficiency is significantly affected. With the system that we have devised,
notice the spiral.
You can change the distance between transmit and receive coil. You can change the orientation and maintain the transmission efficiency.
Notice the spiral, right? In both applications, the coils are spiraled, and that goes into the easiest way to put it, or the easiest example to give is car antennas, right? When you go to a car antenna, in the past, a few decades ago, they were straight pieces of metal, right? And when you look at a modern car antenna, you'll normally find, if you have to dissect it or something, you'll normally find there's a wire that's spiraled in some way, shape, or form, forming the modern antenna. And that's because the signal it amplifies the ability to receive the signal. I mean, that could be why such propaganda has been done on cultures to, you know, have them straighten their hair and stuff, right? Because then you get a weaker signal from source, and then they can tap into putting things in front of your eyes instead to give you ideas rather than for you to actually conceive them. It's artificial insemination versus natural. Let's get back to it.
It is accomplished without changing the frequency of operation. It is accomplished without changing the frequency of operation.
See, once you get in control of your sensitivity, let's take that out and put emotions in. It's no longer a sensitivity to position, right? Then you have the ability to be fully loaded with infinity. So despite your position on what's presented to you, right? Sometimes you're not even on the board with this shit. But, you know, despite your position, you're able to actually conceive it and look at it closely, because you already know that it exists, because you're in tune with the whole of reality. This is why some of you come to people with thoughts and ideas, and they want to get rid of you, because your whole existence to them maybe is outside of their reality, so they don't know how to receive you. They don't know what you're doing, and instead of asking the question to learn, their mind justifies what it wants to believe. Let's get back to it. Which normally means there's something wrong with you.
Using any active feedback and control circuits, without using any active devices. It's self-aligned itself to coupling factor variation. So the system that we have devised is low cost. It does not require power for its operation. It's passive. It can be integrated with existing wireless power transmission systems. It's very simple and it's robust. By the fact that we can maintain maximum efficiency while changing the distance and orientation between the transmit and receive coils, it means that we have little field to couple to the surroundings. So by nature of it, this system is safer. Wireless power transmission should remove all the cords, wires, and different connectors and plugs that are needed to charge current devices. Imagine yourself one day when you are driving on a road and your car being charged. That is one of the goals that wireless power transmission can achieve.
So, if they could charge cars wirelessly, they could charge phones. If they can send a signal from a box in your house 5 rooms away to your cell phone or a laptop, then I guess they can send a signal to you. Right? So if you aren't really in control of yourself and who you are, right, then absolutely you can be programmed. Now, here's the thing. This is why this is so important, because you got to give authority to those closest to the information. Remember, the part of you that went into astro space world while your body sat here for you to go see it in your mind somewhere else, that home, whether it was the home that you used to live in 20 years ago, or it's the thought of the new song you're writing. You went somewhere, you left, or you were already there at the same time you're here, you're omnipresent. I might as well go into it, because I might as well do it. This wasn't the plan, but when you look into the etymology of the word God, little God, it was supreme being, deity or deity. It wasn't until the German tribes adopted Christianity that God became capitalized. I'm talking about just the word. This has nothing to do with your religion, your belief. Separate the two. It became capitalized, but to understand why, you have to understand Roman capitalization law. They capitalized the word so they could monetize it and make money off of it. So see, if I'm not saying you're going to get out there and part the sea, right? But what I'm saying is, at one point in time, you used to be referred to as a little God. So when you got someone that can impregnate you with you being less than anything or anything less than, then you have already been defeated. So when you give the authority to those closest to the information, who is that? Like you saw me, like, you know, you guys appreciate your patience. Like I go out and see, you know what I mean? Like when I had questions about the Moorish Science Temple, I didn't just I went to the Moorish Science Temple. You know what I'm saying? When I had questions about this, I go to the source. So my absence from the channel for the last few weeks, like I told you guys on the stock market side, hey, look, the bond market is rising. The bond market yield is rising. It's going to depress the stock market. We got to wait and see when that when that shift is complete to even get a new perspective from my vision, right? From hold on, let me get some words for you. Me judging it, what I'm knowing is, per my meditation, you know what I'm saying, my logic, I hope that once the yield stop, we can then see the reflection. The speculation says that when the bond yield stop rising, then we'll have a new stabilization pattern of the stock market. My thinking, my understanding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My reasoning, right? So what's the point of me coming out with more stock videos at this time until those conditions align? Like those spiral coils, so we can get the most power amplification. We're still at the same output frequency. It's just there's no point in talking about the same thing over and over again. We already said what was going to happen. I told you guys in November, I was cautious about March and April being right. Here we are. So anyway, getting back to it. This is why you have to trust your own gut. You see what I'm saying? This is why you have to believe in yourself. All right? Lightly distracted there. So this is why you have to trust your own gut. This is why you have to go with yourself, because nobody knows what thoughts you're impregnated with. All right? So if they don't know where you're trying to get to, they don't know what's going to resonate with you, to you, for you. What's going to be best for you, they can't tell you, because they don't know themselves. All right? Because when you leave and go see the vision, it was already the part of you that is physical or is not physical in here on this plane. So you're going to a place that not only do they maybe not know about, but you're going for reasons that they don't understand. So when you come back, you have went to the information, you have went to the source. Remember, the word authority means the book or the quote that settles the question. So here you got all these people here, and the authority normally wants to sit at the top. Well, they don't know. They're disconnected. That distance, remember when they said they moved it too far away and the energy transmission was lost? So the authority wants to sit at the top and claim leadership, if they don't go and visit the areas beneath them, then they're too far removed for too long to be aware of what's going on. If they go too close and they stay too long, then they become normal. And it's like, how can you say that's going to happen? You right here with us all the time. So you have to be able to give the authority to those at the scene, so to speak, which is why you have to trust your gut when you astroplane, like hydroplane, when you astroplane out to another time and space dimension and see what you want to do or who you are in the future or who you're going to become. You got to trust yourself against all odds, against all feedback, because you saw it for yourself. The question is, what's it going to take for you to get there? So you got to give authority to you that went and saw what they don't know. So this is why, I'm a fan of going out to the spot every now and then. Just, you know what I mean? And I always keep in connect with people. It may be a year go by sometimes, but here, what's the deal? What's this? Let me give you this upgrade opportunity, because I don't need to be the face of change. I can actually move faster by just helping 500 people see the potential, because each one of those 500 people are in control of 5,000 or 10,000. Now, based off of the energy, if the people in their organizations are seeking consciously or subconsciously this upgrade, the energy is going to translate and resonate through them, the leader, to provide this detail. Now, what happens is a lot of times the reason I show up is just for that reason, because their people are crying out for this knowledge, for this opportunity, for this upgrade, and that caused the alignment. What did it say? That caused the alignment. If we're going to talk about the energy, examining the stars, right, to align, and the navigations of our paths to cross, so that the manifestation could be delivered within them, so that they could relate it to their people. But when the ego gets into place and people think about, going back to this map here, that they're the authority sitting at the top of the group, and they determine what the group receives from them or not, or if they're going to give this information to them or not, their ego is blocking the flow through the spiral. And by starving you, they're actually starving themselves from the progress that you didn't decide they were to receive, they did. And they're so busy judging you, right? You'll go back to these words here. Judging you, thinking they know you, meditating on whether or not you should be the one telling them this or that. Don't want to give you attention because they want to give over here. Hope something happens to you, saying you outside of that logic, can't reflect or relate. They speculating this, thinking that about you. They don't understand you, right? They got all these reasons why they're going to disconnect, so they can't receive the download that they don't even realize they asking for. So see, it's always the perfect day, because the ones who are ready will receive it despite the source. You know what I mean? Because that's how it works. You never know. You gotta always have your eyes open. Pasha Paro, why that 7? You can't do this on the radio. Thank you for tuning the replay.